the camera to come up. My son's stealing hats. Boy, be careful. Now, the only reason why I'm going live in the middle of the day when I should be working. Sir, stop. The only reason why I'm going live in the middle of the day when I should be really working is because I'm tired of the nonsense. First of all, it's been one too many times. Stop posting up that I said something negative or I was talking about someone's dog who died or whatever. No, what we did yesterday, I actually came on for those who wasn't just on here gossiping and trying to start something and go with y'all usual defensive bullshit. What I actually did is I told the story of what happened to the dog, and we left it up to a real dog conversation. We start talking about we actually don't know why World Star passed. It's unfortunate that the dog passed, but that was the topic. I never claimed to know. The one thing that I have said, and I've said it over and over again, is that we have far too many dogs. What's going on, Jesus? We have far too many dogs, young, that are dying at a young age. We have far too many dogs that can't breathe when they go places. Our respiratory systems are hurting, and that was the whole basis of the thing. As I've told y'all, it is believed that World Star died from a allergic reaction. But even as we dig into that, if it was an allergic reaction, I mean, we have to be honest with ourselves. That's not a normal thing in our dogs either, to be susceptible to anything. We have to be better at what we do and make a better dog. It is not, what's going on? These letters are small for me and I didn't plan on being on here, but I just got tired of the bullshit. Nobody, I didn't see, well, myself, I can't speak for other people and I wasn't on the page that much, but I didn't see anyone, what's going on, Poncho? I didn't see anyone go on there and say anything negative about this dog. But what I see constantly over and over again is this thing nowadays, to where we have repeatedly seen people who go on this thing, and I brought up one idiot yesterday who every opportunity he had behind this dog passing, he was promoting his dog and talk about buy puppies off of me. My dog produced this. Literally going on, what's going on? Literally going on other people's posts that was making tributes to this dog and trying to sell his dogs. I seen that. But I noticed to all of you puppy peddlers out there, that wasn't offensive. It wasn't offensive at all that a guy was jumping on a post about a dog that had died, trying to sell a dog and trying to stir up whatever he could stir up and take advantage of it to sell studs. That wasn't offensive to anybody. But y'all talk about a community and a group of people in this community that every time something happens, it's not negative when you start breaking down anything about a dog. Y'all have to get this through your head. What we do, we are dog show people. Understand this, you pussyfoot son of a bitches. We are dog show people. If you got these soft ass feelings, if your heart is just so much into it that every dog that you got on the face of the earth is supposed to be the greatest dog in the world, and can't nobody talk about him, and can't nobody break him down, and can't nobody ask questions, you and your bitch ass dog need to stay at home, because we had a real conversation. I gave y'all the real story behind what happened with the dog, and we started asking questions as to how we can make our dog stronger, non-susceptible to not his particular situation, but every situation that we see in our community with dogs that are having respiratory issues. That's what we talked about. What's going on, Luke? What's going on, King and Jeff? After a while, if you gonna call yourself being a dog man, you have to take that old pussyfied shit down. You have to be to a point where you can break your dogs down, where anybody can ask questions about your dog. If your dog tear an ACL and he's limping, people gonna ask questions. If your dog is having trouble breathing in the ring, people are gonna ask questions. If your dog act like he don't want to walk in the ring, people are gonna ask questions. If your dog has a kink, a high rear, cowhawk, bad feet, bad eyes, any of this shit, people are gonna ask questions. You cannot ask for the glory without the criticism. Y'all always want somebody to pat pat y'all on the back, and anytime that somebody points out something that is a very, very obvious and true flaw about your dog, now you pussyfoot son of a bitches cry foul every time. Every time. It's we had basically a social experiment on the D-Line public page that was just so funny because Bobby had fun with you clowns. He made fun of y'all. He talked shit the same way y'all talk shit about everybody who actually tries to educate the community and talk about making the dogs better. Y'all cried. Y'all filled my inbox up. Please tell him to stop doing this. Please stop this. Please stop that. When Bobby posted all the deformed dogs, this tell you how screwed up your minds is. Bobby posts up a bunch of deformed dogs, proving the point that we have an issue in our community with people doing bad breedings and promoting bad breedings and having other issues with these dogs. He's giving you a visual context that these dogs are screwed up. What did y'all do? Y'all didn't have a problem with the fact that these people are out here showing these dogs. Y'all had a problem that Bobby was posting it. That's a problem with you. You have a problem with the truth. You want real dog people to stop being real dog people, but you can slide your bullshit in the back door and keep on robbing people. That's what it's about. The only reason why y'all have ever gotten mad at me and others like me is because we do what dog people do. If you go to the AKC and you take your dog in there, you're going to have a bunch of guys and a bunch of women sitting around trying to find out what's wrong with your dog and do it deserve to be here. It should be no different than what we do here. We cannot at any point in time do what dog people do in this community because y'all heads is so screwed up, man. Y'all don't know nothing. I hate to tell you this, and I'm not the greatest dog man of all time or no shit. I'm still learning, and I'm calling some OGs, and I'm calling a lot of people. I'm actually supposed to go meet with some people in a few weeks to learn some more things and pick up some tips. I'm trying to learn this thing, but the one thing I do know is that if you are a dog person and you call yourself bringing your dog out to be a show dog, you want to sell studs off of this dog. You want to show this dog. You want these titles. You have opened your dog up full-fledged to scrutiny. Everything shall be judged on that dog from his teeth to his balls. If you cannot handle that, you take your pet and you leave his ass at home because this is not the field for him. People are not going to tell you that your dog is perfect all the time. That's just not the way this shit works. And y'all can stop trying to justify everything that goes wrong with y'all dog to me, and I'm talking personally on this level, by talking about, oh, Denzel this and Denzel that. I told y'all, he's proved what he had to prove. And one thing that he's proved, and I don't mean no disrespect to anybody about this, but the one thing he's proved is longevity. He can live. Today, right now, pushing up on 10 years old man can still get out there and he can lock up with a bitch and he can still get 1.5 miles in and 80-degree weather. No problem. People who come to the house see him. He don't move like no old man. He get out there, he do what he do, and if they bring in a bitch, he'll jump up on their back and try. He half of the time too short to get to it, but he's still living. Ain't that's what it's supposed to be? Stop trying to justify dogs that have passed away with a dog that's still living. It doesn't work. And that mentality tells me right there that you don't understand what it is that we're here to do. The ultimate thing that we're here to do is to build a dog that can live, be healthy with great conformation. This is what show dogs are. If y'all, for some reason, our community is the only dog community that has forgotten that we are supposed to be making a better dog. Everybody defends everything. You know, they defend everything. They get mad about everything. You point out the obvious, which we see a lot of. You point out a high rear, and they get mad at you. But it's obvious that this dog has a high rear. You point out the fact that the dog might look too much like a bulldog. It's obvious. A lot of bulldog traits, but they get mad. This is just reality. You want to shut people up from telling the truth. And I say that, and I say this for real. In all honesty, I blame a lot of the shit on the ABKC because they permitted so much bullshit and gave false prophets a platform by giving up all these bullshit championships to dogs that never should have been in the show ring. That nowadays these guys actually believe there's something. False prophecy will get you every time. It was never a point in time, and I wish John Easterly would pop up on here being the original judge, but it was never a point in time where you could walk in with a half-ass dog and walk out with a title. That wasn't what we did. So y'all want me to change to justify the bullshit y'all doing. I refuse. I'm harder if man, I'm harder on my own yard than I am on anything that I say on here. And the one thing I tell you in my own yard is nobody's got a high rear. I do have an underbite, but nobody has a high rear. I got one bitch with an underbite. I got one dog that I don't like his rear end movement. It's not horrible, but I don't like it. Denzel, I don't like how loose his skin is. I don't like his big ass feet. See, I don't have no problem with this shit. I go up and down on my dogs. I don't care. You know, I don't care. You know, Mandela, he needs tighter skin. You know, he's the one I said needs better rear end movement. Like I say, it's not horrible. If I was judging him, he wouldn't be disqualified or anything, but it's not what I expect out of my dogs. You know, y'all ask me about any dog I have. I've often said that Castro is the best put together dog that I have. It's really nothing wrong with the dog besides, you know, the fact that he's roughly 18 inches and 85 pounds. So he's more old school in the Remy mode. But he's the best put together. Even though the other two are more popular than him, he's the best put together. He moves the best. He's got the best drive. To me, personally, he's the best dog in the yard. Overall, he's if we were being realistic, now I won't say he's a better producer because Denzel is a hell of a producer. But if we were talking dog for dog, if I was judging the show, Castro would beat Denzel, even in his prime. That's just me being realistic. I don't do the whole thing, the pom-pom, to tell y'all that my dogs is the greatest things ever. And my best dogs, what's going on, Larry? You know, my best dogs are yet to come, Brother Ronnie. You know, and that's the way I feel. But you can never, I say this to everybody out there who's starting programs and been in this for some years or whatever, and you trying to move your way up, and we all trying to move our way up. Man, don't turn into these people that you so sensitive that your dogs cannot be judged. Salute, Cali in the house. You know, you cannot be that sensitive. You have to be hard on yourself. If you want your yards to improve, if you want the community to improve, you got to stop accepting bullshit. I don't care about the hype. I don't care who likes what. I don't give two fucks about what Dave Wilson is over there lying to people and telling them, oh yeah, that's okay, when he knows it's not. And I know he knows better, but he allows bullshit to go on each and every fucking day. I don't care about none of that. We have a lot of people here who have at least some intelligence, and even the hating lying ass people, and here comes the baby. Even the hating people, they come yeah. Put your tongue in your mouth. But no, you stay over there. Even the hating lying people, they what are you doing? Okay. Okay. Now this has happened like 3 or 4 times. But you know, even the hating, go son, go. But even the haters out there, they know, if y'all ever notice, they know exactly what all of the flaws are. Go play with Mandela. But they know what all the flaws are, because when they decide that they want to try to tear somebody else's dog down, they can tell you every flaw in the book. They can tell you, oh, well, look at his feet, or look at his high rear, look at this or look at that. Well, if you can tell everybody else about their shit, why can't you see it? Hey, thanks, Mello. If you can see, if they can see all these other flaws, why can't they see that? Yeah, the dog. Yeah, that's the dog. This man here. But at the end of the day, you know, oh yeah, yeah. Look, he thinks he's the ultimate dog man, and he won't stop. And I don't know what he's saying. If any of y'all got kids, we at this stage right now that he sort of talks, but he doesn't talk. But he talks all the time. So he really believes that he's saying something. What are you saying? What happened? You got wow-wows? Get off my hat. But as I was saying, and I'm going to be fighting him for the rest of this thing as I see. This is what I do on a daily basis. When I miss y'all phone calls sometimes, this is what's going on. Oh, yeah. Man, look, he don't care. This is what we do. So I'm going to try to talk to him. Leave my hat alone. But I know my grandma's on here loving this shit. And Luther, you know all about it with them boys. But, you know, at the end of the day, we have to get to a point to where we really, really judge our dogs. Years ago, I mean, and y'all see my dude on there, Luther Jones. I told Luther years back, his boy Movado is one of the best put together dogs I've seen. And I don't care about whose dog it is or where the dog came from. Like I say, I love Pratt's dogs. I love the OG Gray line. I like the old Gotti, you know, because they were put together. It's not about me selling something or it being just all about Razor's Edge. But if we are going to go forward, man, people have to get off of this thing of, you know, I'm a dog god and you can't say anything is wrong with my dogs. You know, that just does not work. It does not work for any of us, you know. It does not work for the community. A lot of these arguments that I see is just people being offended by you telling the truth. You know, if your dog has a high rear, so what? He has a high rear. We got to do better. But, you know, we have gotten into this new generation of these salesmen that this is why it's gotten so personal. I can't tell y'all how many people probably sit at home. What's going on, Brian? Still up on the roofs. I can't tell y'all how many people basically are feeding their kids off of this shit. And when you talk about feeding you, yeah. But, you know, when you get to talking about people's money and feeding their kids, and we see the ads and the sales promotion and stuff like that, that's why this shit gets to be very, very personal for them very fast. That's why everything is so touchy. It's because these are the same people, you know, they took from the kids' college fund. They woman ain't giving them none because she mad because the money is a little screwed up because they done bought all these damn puppies and they promised her that they was going to get a return on their investment, as those guys say. And we forgotten about dogs. Dude, stop that. We forgotten all about the dogs, man. We forgotten about how to judge dogs correctly. I mean, I've said it a million times, and I know it's against the ABKC protocol. But at the end of the day, you know, we should be checking out AKC shows from time to time and checking out how a real dog show is run. We should be checking out some UKC shows and some international shows. You know, you can always check those out on YouTube too to see how things, you can actually get a good feel for how the show is run, the professionalism. And if you use your eyes, you can see the confirmation on the dogs that they're showing. And that's the level that we should go to. Look at this dude, man. But you know, at the end of the day, right now, we are a fun show community. John, that funny part is that was John Easterly calling in. I'm gonna have to call him after the video. I had to decline him. But we need to really stop being a oh, somebody said clear up how Gargoyle passed. I'm gonna tell y'all this. Max, give me 1 second. Max, look, baby. Hey, go. Dude, go. Go. But at the end of the day, he pissed at me now. But at the end of the day, this is what happened with Gargoyle while y'all all on here. And now he's got my Cavs hat. This is a hell of a video. But yeah, he's gonna pop back in the screen with a Cavs hat on pretty soon. I can feel it. But Gargoyle actually died at about 18 months old. It was a little older than 18 months. And what happened with him is he had a pulmonary he had a pulmonary embolism. Which if you know, and I'm not calling anybody stupid, but for those that doesn't know what that is, Gargoyle had a Gargoyle had this thing where the same thing that several other Cairo dogs died from, where it was a blood clot in the lungs, and the dogs seemed pretty healthy when. Sir, quiet. Yeah, that's cool. I like it. But several of the dogs, like Denial, if any of y'all know who Denial is, I had Denial, and we was actually on our way to the. Boy, you got to be quiet. You can play, but be quiet. But we were actually on our way to the Virginia show. And that first Virginia show, that very big Virginia show. Yeah, John, I was on here and you cut my damn broadcast off. But yeah, Gargoyle and Denial had the same thing. I actually experienced Denials because I was putting her into the van to head out to I was putting her in the van to head out to Virginia, and actually, well, she was in the van. Dude, give me that thing. This dude is all over the place. But man, oh man, it was sad. The dog was healthy. She jumped right in the van, and I'm talking about literally about 10 to 15 minutes later. she had blood coming out of her nose, and my brother just said, like, man, he was like, I don't think she really, like, and let me back the story up. He said, I don't think she's moving really, and she had really shallow breath. Sir, stop. She had really shallow breath, and once we got her to the vet and I actually lifted her, that's when the blood ran out of her nose. And it was sad, man. And once I got her, stop, Max, stop. Once I got her into the vet, it really start running. It really start running. And you know, I get attached to my dog, so I was at that time, man. I'm like, man, we'll pay for whatever. But the vet just told me at that time it was nothing that he could do, because once the rupture started, it's basically like they blood drowns them from the inside. And it's something that you really don't now they say you can do different things, and man, I still hate to talk about that because that was some sad shit. But now you can do some things to detect them. But what we found out, this dude, what we found out, you see this dude with this Q-tip? Give me that, man. What are you doing? You cleaning your ears now? This cat, he's having a time in his life because he can see himself. But that situation was terrible, man. And that's the same thing that happened to Gargoyle, man. And a lot of times what happens, if you come outside, and a lot of us have done this, because it happened to another one of my dogs, if you come outside and you think your dog had just the life expectancy on an American Bully is supposed to be around 10 to 12 years. It's not that way anymore. Yeah, he stole the show. And you know, I mean, I guess it depends on where you go. Hola, Fernando. But the thing of it is, sir, you have to be quiet. But at the end of the day, what happened is it happened to Gargoyle, and it happened to a couple other dogs that I'm gonna be real with y'all. Stop. No, stop. I'm gonna be real with y'all. Denzel will be 10 years old in a couple months. Actually, he's got about 5 months. I'm putting him ahead. But I think a lot of our dogs were heavily inbred too much with Cairo blood, and you started to see certain traits. Like a lot of people always talked about why when you heavily breed Cairo do you get kink tails. And I mean, you inbreeding the shit out of a dog, so eventually you're gonna start to see different issues. You know, some of the traits some of the traits that we liked, or that we do like when the dogs start getting shorter, that was actually dwarfism. You know, and a lot of that came from inbreeding. You know, a lot of the issues that we seen with our dogs, it was directly at inbreeding. People went, like every generation that we have, people go crazy with one dog or another. And for that generation, of course, Cairo was the king of all kings. Yes, the skin allergies, everything. Omar, you know, a lot of these issues were heavy inbreeding. It was heavy inbreeding, and they don't ever want to admit to that because that means they did something wrong, and we can't ever admit to being wrong. But me being a part of the Razor's Edge family and an Edge breeder, I can tell you that it's a fact. We inbred too much. The pockets, those that didn't cheat, they are dwarfs. That's why they have real big bones. That's why they have those big old heads. And that's why a lot of times we have one testicle here or there. We have one, you know, we have a lot of the issues, the skin issues, you know. It was the same thing with the blue dogs. I don't know if y'all noticed that with the blue dogs. But once blue dogs start selling for a lot of money, everybody wanted to breed blue. Of course, the easiest way to get blue was to breed a blue to a blue, then breed more blues to more blues, and breed more blue. Well, what happened is, I'm going to tell y'all, the early blue dogs did not have these skin effects. It became from that heavy amount of piling up on those genes, and there was a lot of inbreeding, and people really wasn't caring about the pedigree. The rule of thumb is if they're not the same, if they're not from the same litter, then it's good to go. And that's the way they bred them, and we really didn't understand what we were doing. And it leads to now a lot of the dogs that y'all see. Y'all would be amazed at the fact that, yes, some people mix some things in, but you would be amazed at some of the transformations that you saw from people not mixing it in. And John and Bobby and you know, a few other guys who are on here who've been around a long time, they can tell you, you could breed two dogs that look like pit bulls, then breed them again, then breed that dog again, and breed that dog again, and eventually, what's going on, Paul? Eventually, the whole entire look of the dog would change. But this is a genetic mutation. You know, you can't keep on breeding the same blood. That's like genetics 101. Eventually, you're going to run into something. Now, at the same time, we get to talking about, and y'all, some of y'all have heard me say this before, but this is some of the things that, you know, if you look into genetics. Paul, I'm making it, man. Hopefully, you're doing good over there. One thing with genetics is this: everybody heard about the plagues and different things that killed a bunch of people throughout the world's history. Well, if one thing that's always in common with these areas that had a huge plague is they had a blue blood theory. In the blue blood theory, some of y'all might see it on Game of Thrones or some shit, but cousins would have babies with cousins. Brother and sister would marry each other because they didn't want to mess up their royal bloodlines. And it didn't just happen with royalty. A lot of people had family crest and they wanted to keep their so-called blood pure. Well, what happened is those families bred themselves into being inbred freaks in a lot of situations, and they didn't have immune systems. So a lot of times when they tell you this, they say, oh, it was a massive plague. It really wasn't the disease that was the big issue. The big issue is that these people had messed up their genetics so bad that they didn't have an immune system to fight off anything. It was basically like they had gave themselves suppressed immune system, which basically, those who know anything about the AIDS virus doesn't kill you. It just destroys your immune system, and you can die from a simple cold pretty much, and that's what we're doing to our dogs now. Irresponsible breeding is making our dogs more and more unhealthy. You have to understand, these American bullies are not really 20 years old. They're not even 20 years. They can tell you those lies, 25th anniversary. No, and this all that shit that Dave talks about, he was breeding pit bulls then. He was breeding, better bred dogs to each other to make some nice dogs. What's going on, Minnie? He was not American bully this, American. It wasn't that. The actual American bully as we know it now really started to form about 14 to 15 years ago, when we really started to try to come together and have an idea of exactly what we wanted. Before that time span, they favored more pit bullish than anything. That's why even then, if you look at everybody's name, it was my email is still Hall of Fame Pits. Pratt's Pits. Everybody was Pits because we all was still rocking what looked like giant pit bulls, and they were a lot healthier. Once we got into this American bully thing, it opened the floodgates, because before you didn't have all these breeders. Like back, I say, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but and I know John is still on here and Bobby, but even if you go back maybe a decade, I would say 2006, 2007, everybody wasn't breeders. Breeders were almost like rock stars. I remember showing up at shows and people actually wanting autographs at shows and shit. And they do it now out of the country and because of this show and all that stuff. But the reality is, breeders were like special people then. Because it wasn't a lot of us. They wanted to know your bloodlines. They wanted to actually sit there and talk to you to figure out, okay, well, what about this generation? And we were like some bully thesauruses or something, or dictionaries or whatever, because we had some knowledge, because we were the ones doing it, and everybody didn't want to jump into breeding. Well, the problem became is the money. The money, it brought us to this time now to where every single person on the face of the earth believes that they're a breeder. They get their first puppy and they believe that they're a breeder. And I'm not trying to insult nobody, because we all started off with one puppy. But it's some work that needs to be done, and you have to read up on things. Read up on beagles. Read up on, how they made the Rottweiler. Read up on horse genetics. Read up on how they breed cows. Understanding the process of how you make a dog and the issues that can come from a dog, even going 4 or 5 generations back, is going to help us make better dogs in the future. People always wonder, well, why don't you post up a bunch of dogs? Those that know me know I have dogs, but I'm in a process. I'm actually doing breedings to get the breedings. I have a whole generation of dogs that I've never really shown anybody, and it's not because they look bad or anything. It's just because it's not what I wanted. It was a step in my process to go to the next step. So now you see, I created a bunch of shorter, compact, like if you see all my bitches now are about 60 pounds and they're all around 14 inches. They're very short, very compact. The thing about them is that they're the dwarf size, but they have excellent conformation. These bitches run, and they drive me crazy because I had a 4-foot fence and they can literally hop the 4-foot fence. They're still super athletic. They don't even have to touch this fence. They can just jump it. I wanted those genetics. I wanted the conformation. I wanted that ability to breathe. Every single dog that I have in my yard, they can all, in 90-degree weather, go outside in the sun, and most of them flip over and sunbathe. I never have a breathing issue. Denzel, even at his age, As long as it's not a bright beaming sun on them, it can be 80, 85 degrees out there. I take Denzel on a mile and a half, high speed walk with me or whatever. He has no problem. He get right back to the house, drink his water, and he's back to normal. These is things that John said, I'm back. What's good? John, you done missed the whole damn show. But I'm gonna be calling you in a minute, big bro. But we really didn't deal with health issues, and we talked to each other a lot. As y'all see, John Easterly, that's the original judge, man. I don't care what nobody say. That's the original judge. John was the guy who was teaching people confirmation, because John has an extensive history in the pit bull community also, so he knows about the dogs. But he's got Brahmas now that can be out in the sun. And this was a thing that we lost. We lost that, because back in the day, that was mandatory. If a dog had breathing issues, we wouldn't really deal with him. It was some nice dogs back then, but if you came with that breathing issue, we were very strict about how we bred our dogs. Thing was, I always say that, Thing was considered the worst dog in America. People always talk about Thing, not he was a producer, but you wouldn't never want to show. He was like you pushing the line. And if you look at pictures of Thing now, he's more correct than all of these dogs. He just got, circular eyes and that damn tail. But at the end of the day, this guy just bops back in here raising hell. But at the end of the day, you have to have some breeding ethics. Sir, stop. You have to have some kind of breeding ethics, and you have to study. You have to study. Mr. Park, you have to study. You have to go. Yeah, Denzel's still living. Denzel's still humping. That's on the YouTube. It's 2 different pages if y'all ain't figured that out. That's on YouTube. Yeah, hey, Denzel's still humping. Denzel's still a freak. He out here. Yeah, he doing his thing, man. He's still walking. Still, really, he hasn't even. It's weird with Denzel. He hasn't even started going gray yet. Most of the time, when a dog is getting older, I seen the picture of Little Row like last year, and he had the gray goatee, but I think he was old as hell in that one. Well, I don't know if he ever passed or not, because, whatever. But he hasn't even started going gray. He doesn't even act old at all. The only thing I'm noticing about Denzel at this point, and I try to be honest with everything, is that I think now his hearing is starting to go. Either that or he just tired of my mouth, and I'm sort of believing that too, because I think he sort of ignores me. It might be part hearing, but he might be part like, dude, it's been too long and I'm tired of your shit. Because when the baby calls him, he comes. Somehow he amazingly hears when the baby comes. But when I call him and be out in the yard, I'm clapping and everything else, he just totally ignores me and comes when he wants to. So, but yeah, overall, he just had an exam about 3 or 4 months ago. Ratchet. Denzel's very ratchet, right? But yeah, I just checked his prostate, and his prostate was good. He had a mild infection of some sort, and they gave him some little bullshit antibiotics, and that's fine. Movement is fine. His hips are great. He can move all the way around, and that's why I like it the most. I was telling everybody on the radio show. I don't know. I do so many of these things, but I had the rare opportunity, and I love it, man. I didn't realize it happened until my iPhone sort of did it for me. But my oldest son is 16. The youngest boy is 2. The one that's climbing all over me. Matter of fact, now he's rolling around with Denzel. But I have a picture of my one son, and he was very young, and he has a picture holding Denzel. And that's when Denzel was a lot younger. He was probably around the 2-year-old mark. And it's funny to see, my oldest son being still a kid, and then to see his brother, who's way younger than him, take another picture with Denzel on the show lead. And it's 2 totally generations. It's like an 8-year span between those pictures. But it's amazing that, when it's all said and done, unfortunately, I will be able to say that both of my sons, I had a picture with, with my other son. My other son, who won't be blessed enough to live this long life that they live, but he lived a long, good life, And, a call came in, but yeah, I mean, it's been, what's going on, Bruce? It's been good, man. I mean,